says, Shimmy says, Shimmy, Shimmy, Shimmy says, ask me almost anything.
Hey everyone, it's Shimmy and welcome to another Shimmy Says. So here's what I got for you this week. I wrote an article November 3rd over on TechStrong IT called Tech Heal Thyself. It came out of I was reading a book review in the New York Times by a book by a fellow named Tim Wu called The Age of Extraction. And in this book, Tim worked, I think, in the Biden administration in the antitrust division of the Department of Justice, was saying that big tech has transitioned from innovation to extraction. It's not that they're necessarily innovating anymore, but they're about extracting value and extracting data, which is value, from all of us. And that's where it's at, and that we need the government to step in here and, maybe with some strong antitrust legislation or moves, try to move us off this age of extraction. And I read it, and I'll be honest with you, I thought to myself, how quaint that we think the government's going to help us. Because in today's world, the government has traded their referee's striped shirt to wear the jersey of the home team. And we can't think that the government actually is in bed with the tech bros. They own a piece of the action here. So we can't be looking to the government to help us out of this conundrum. And why is it a conundrum? I'll tell you why it's a conundrum. Because we are letting 7, 8, or 9 companies, we're letting 7, 8, or 9 companies dictate to us what we're doing and how we're doing it. They are controlling the narrative. They're controlling the technology. They're controlling everything we're doing. Now, look, I've been in tech a long time. We've seen that one of the great stories about tech is you can get 2 people in a garage and start the next Apple or the next Microsoft or the next Google. It's happened before, and it should be able to happen again. But what I fear is in today's world where we have AI and we have robotics or physical AI, as we're calling it, or we have, right on the horizon, quickly following in the rearview mirror, quantum, that the barriers to entry here are so hard that we're not allowing for new growth in the forests. We're not allowing the next batch of innovators to start the next group of great companies that'll carry this forward. Where's the next Google? Where's the next Meta going to come from if you need hundreds of billions of dollars to play at this level? And I thought some more about it even after I wrote the article. And you know what? Here's what I'm convinced of, though. Innovation will find a way. I'm reminded of, if you've ever watched the original Jurassic Park movie, when Jeff Goldblum's in the laboratory where they're showing them how they, engineer the DNA of these dinosaurs, and they say, well, don't worry, all the dinosaurs are female, so they can't breed. And Jeff Goldblum says, life will find a way. And sure enough, if you know the story in Jurassic Park, they figure out how to breed. And we've seen it in real life. These stories do happen. There's a term for it, scientific term for it. I don't remember right now. But I do believe innovation will find a way. And what I mean by that is that people who are smart people, who are innovating people, will find a way to make a better mousetrap, to be more nimble, more agile than these behemoths are. But we need to encourage it, right? Right now, as I said earlier, with these 8 or 9 companies, we're watching the biggest technology consolidation of power, not just in technology, but a consolidation of power that we've ever seen. And it's like this circular financing. Microsoft invests in OpenAI. OpenAI then gives that money back to Microsoft for Azure hosting. So the money just really doesn't even change hands. It goes through a circle thing. Google and Anthropic doing a similar thing. Amazon's involved in there. Oracle and NVIDIA are swapping it back and forth to their own exclusive stuff. It's a merry-go-round, but it's hundreds of billions of dollars, $1 trillion merry-go-round, where each one of these 8 or 9 customers plays different parts in different parts of the movie. They play different roles. Today they're a customer, later they're a partner, tomorrow they're an investor, and but it's a small circle of just their businesses. And as I said, don't hold your breath waiting for Washington to break this up. Washington's part of it, right? So at the end of the day, what are we going to do here? Innovation will find a way. It always has and it always will. I'll give you some more examples. IBM, even though they invented the PC, really didn't see it, the rise of it and the impact of it, and they missed it. Nokia and BlackBerry didn't see the iPhone coming until they got run over. Google didn't think of a Facebook. Facebook didn't think of TikTok. Disruptors always show up where you least expect them, from a blind spot. It's the place the giants aren't looking. We saw it just a few months ago with DeepSeek. It shook the heart of our AI oligarchy here in America. It really was sort of a Sputnik moment, right? Because the audacity of these guys to do it cheaper, faster, without the whole Cadillac around it. But this is, I think, the future that we have to look for. We need to find, people are going to figure out how to do these things smarter, faster, and leaner. And when they do, I think the market will reward them, because no matter how hard the tech bros and the oligarchs try to hold it in their hands, the tighter they squeeze, the more it is like sand going through their fingers. The harder they squeeze, the more the sand runs out. But make no mistake, between AI and robotics and quantum, we are on the 5th wave, or a 5th industrial revolution. But this revolution, like ones before, won't necessarily be won by the biggest factories. It'll be run by how people rethink what a factory even is, what it does, and how it works. And to me, the biggest counterweight to all of that today is open source. Open source has gone through its own revolution, right? I remember in the 2000s, early 2000s, most enterprises had a no open source policy. Ludicrous today. 99% of enterprises use open source. So it means using open source, synthetic data. It means decentralizing compute, so we're not just dependent on these huge AI factories that the Mag 7 or the 8 or 9 are going to be using. These are the tools of the new rebellion. Go a little Star Wars on you here, right? We've got to rebel against the empire. These are the tools of the new rebellion. The ways are, we've got to be small but nimble, innovators who outthink and can run in between the giants. So, given that, right? How do we all not become slaves to the big 8 or 9? How do we help the rebellion in our own way? Without becoming X-Wing pilots or something. Well, I got a couple of shimmy rules here for you on how to do that. Number 1, double down on open source. You use open source today, use it more. Support your open source projects. Support your maintainers. Support your foundations that support open source. Because at the end of the day, open source access isn't just fair, the right thing to do. It's fertile ground for the breakthroughs that'll free us from the oligarchy. Second, push for interoperability. Don't be satisfied with proprietary walled garden type of ecosystems or walled garden platforms. Don't lock ideas behind these walled gardens and closed APIs. Demand open APIs as much as you demand open source. Because when systems connect, innovations compound. Third, invest locally and creatively. Not every startup needs $1 trillion valuation or even tens of billions of dollars. Some of the most world-changing ideas started as side projects, as I said, in garages and dorm rooms and coffee shops, right? Some of them were kind of way out there. Look at some of the things DARPA has financed over the years. When they originally financed them, they were way, way out. But you know what? Some of those crazy ideas wind up making new markets and setting new revolutions. Finally, last to Shimmy's advice on this one, education. The next AI unicorn could come from just a kid in high school, not a VC in Palo Alto. And let's talk about that. This revolution probably won't be in Silicon Valley because Silicon Valley's already bought and paid for by these 8 or 9 people. It's just as likely to happen in Austin or Boulder or Tel Aviv or Bangalore or Raleigh or any town or anything out there. With the democratization of this, with open source, it could really happen anywhere. Guys, innovation is not a spectator sport. You got to get involved. It's a team game. And the more of us that are involved in it, the better the odds are that someone will score and break through the 8 or 9 stranglehold that we have around us now with these new technologies. If we treat AI and robotics and quantum like a walled garden, innovation will die. But if we treat it like an ecosystem of interoperability, it'll thrive. So at the end of the day, we can't count on the government. We can't count on the big 8 or 9 to be benevolent benefactors here, right? We need to heal ourselves, not with more $100 billion deals or government programs, but with creativity, with curiosity, with courage. Innovation doesn't wait for permission. It doesn't need $1 trillion cloud. It needs room to breathe. It needs room to experiment. And as history and Hollywood remind us, whether it's evolution or innovation, life finds a way, and so does innovation. I'm Shimmy. Thanks for tuning in, and keep building the future.
Shimmy says, shimmy says, shimmy, shimmy, shimmy says, ask me almost anything.